Back at the White House, the president cluing us in on his new picks for some very important jobs. He has some extremely harsh words for a former associate tonight, somebody who worked for him. We're back with Chief White House correspondent John Roberts with the rest of the interesting day of news. Good evening, John.
Always seems like every day is an interesting day here at 1600 Pennsylvania. The president, when he was leaving this morning, was very excited to talk about some new additions to his cabinet and staff. But what really had his dandruff up today was a former top official. It was another first, an American president publicly unloading on his former Secretary of State. In a tweet, President Trump calling Rex Tillerson, quote, dumb as a rock. It was a forum at the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston last night that sparked the outrage. Low-key until now, Tillerson let it be known what he thought of the president.
We did not have a common value system. When the president would say, well, here's what I want to do, and here's how I want to do it. And I'd have to say to him, well, Mr. President, I understand what you want to do, but you can't do it that way. It violates the law.
President Trump responded viciously to Tillerson's remarks, tweeting this afternoon, Rex Tillerson didn't have the mental capacity needed. I couldn't get rid of him fast enough. He was lazy as hell. Now it's a whole new ballgame. Great spirit at stake. The president is also looking for a new ballgame at the Department of Justice, today nominating William Barr to replace Jeff Sessions.
Bill previously led the Justice Department with distinction as Attorney General under George H.W. Bush, following his unanimous confirmation by the United States Senate. There's no one more capable or more qualified for this role. He deserves overwhelming bipartisan support.
In his first go-around as Bush 41's Attorney General, Barr did command overwhelming bipartisan support. He was unanimously confirmed. But today, in a statement, Senator Chuck Schumer said Barr has a big hill to climb in his confirmation and tied it to the Mueller investigation, saying Barr must commit first that the special counsel's investigation will proceed unimpeded, and second, that the special counsel's final report will be made available to Congress and the public immediately upon completion. Nancy Pelosi took a wrecking ball to bipartisanship in a statement saying, this nomination is the latest in the president's pattern of installing partisan hacks in the highest reaches of our government who will happily do his bidding. President Trump also announced his long-expected replacement for UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, State Department spokeswoman and former Fox News host Heather Nauert.
She's very talented, very smart, very quick, and I think she's going to be respected by all. So Heather Nauert will be nominated for the ambassador to the United Nations.
But Democrats will have the long knives out for her confirmation. The Center for American Progress leading the way in a statement today saying to nominate someone with zero diplomatic negotiating experience is yet another reminder that the Trump administration does not prioritize diplomacy. But Nauert got a full measure of support from Senator Lindsey Graham, who said she is a fine and capable person. I'm sure she will perform well at her hearing and look forward to supporting her nomination. And President Trump has another announcement to make tomorrow. He will name the current Army Chief of Staff, Mark Milley, to succeed the current chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joe Dunford. That announcement will be made tomorrow at the Army-Navy football game, but will not be effective until October 1st of 2019. So the president really getting out ahead of this one, Brett.
John Roberts for the second time from the North Lawn. John, thanks.
Thank you.
Over on Wall Street today, another brutal day for investors. The Dow sank 559 today, wiping out the gains for the year. The S&P 500 lost 63. The Nasdaq was off 219. For the week, the Dow fell 4.5 percentage points. The S&P 500 lost 4.6. The Nasdaq dropped almost 5. Today's trading comes on the heels of another solid jobs report, but not as good as predicted. Susan Lee of the Fox Business Network joins us now from New York. Good evening, Susan.
Good evening, Brett. A slower pace of hiring in November, but still the best jobs market in close to 50 years. 155,000 jobs were created in the month of November, less than economists forecast, but still the jobless rate held at 3.7%, matching its lowest since 1969. Wage growth stayed at the highest in close to a decade, rising over 3% from a year ago. So where were the jobs? Healthcare, manufacturing, manufacturing touted by the U.S. president still advancing at twice last year's pace. Transportation and warehousing, along with professional and business services, hiring the most in the month. U.S. payrolls have now gained for over 8 years, and that's the longest steady stretch of job creation on record. A bright spot in an economy that's still forecast to be the best year of economic growth since 2005, when the U.S. last grew at over 3%. A rate of growth that economic advisor Larry Kudlow is forecasting for next year as well.
The economy is now in a 3% plus trajectory. We're going to get 3% growth next year. We're going to get 3%. I actually believe we will get 3% growth next year.
Now, the markets weren't exactly buying into the optimism on Friday, with another big points drop for the Dow. Its worst three-day sell-off in close to a year. U.S.-China trade concerns also hit investor sentiment this week with the arrest of a top executive at China's largest network equipment maker, Huawei, straining a U.S.-China trade truce. Brett?
Susan Lee in New York. Susan, thanks. As Susan mentioned, U.S. prosecutors